What about love in relationship? Love is the result of compatibility being demonstrated in a relationship. Recognition demonstrates love on the spiritual level, but relationship demonstrates love on the mental and the physical levels. Love is the result of compatibility. The depth of your love will be the depth of your shared expression in the world. You can love someone intensely at the outset, but this is not yet real love. It is not yet a love that can withstand the rigors of life. It may be very intense, but it is momentary. Great love is established through participation together. Participation together is accomplished through compatibility and shared purpose. You may be personally compatible, but if purpose, motivation, and courage are not there, then the relationship cannot be brought into full expression, and your experience of love will be incomplete. Here you love someone because of what you can do, share, and express together. That is why you love someone. Therefore, do not base a primary relationship upon love. Base it upon what you can share, what you can express, and what you can do together. Many people think you should get married because you are intensely in love with someone. Being intensely in love may demonstrate a recognition, but not a relationship. Your relationship has yet to be established. It has yet to be demonstrated, expressed, and proven. With recognition, you are not yet in relationship. It is by going through things together that you learn if you have the compatibility, the motivation, and the commitment to be in a genuine relationship. Therefore, do not base your relationship on love. Love ignites the flame, but what feeds the flame is your ability to share, express, and demonstrate a real purpose in the world. Relationship is not built on a spark. It is kept alive through the fire of love. Love is the result here. This is very important to understand. You may say that shared expression, giving, and purpose are all the result of love. You may say that shared contribution in the world is a result of great love. Looking at it like that could only be valid if the love was associated with God alone. Without this, your statement demonstrates a confusion in levels and therefore would leave you very vulnerable to making serious errors in judgment and evaluation in your relationships. This is why it is important to place love as a result and not the cause of your relationship. God as love is the cause of your relationship, yet your experience of love will be the result of your participation together. It is very common that love is thought to be the most important reason for being with someone. You are in love with someone and then you assume that you must be mates and you must have a great relationship, and this must be the ultimate experience. Yet to anyone who has acquired real maturity, this will only be seen as a great stimulation, a recognition. The possibility for true relationship has not yet been established. Many people are addicted to the experience of being in love. It is an experience based upon recognition. Therefore, they keep looking for the recognition, thinking that the recognition is the relationship. Recognition is not relationship. Many people who have this problem, and most people do have it to some degree, are repeatedly disappointed because the relationship that is the result of recognition only disappoints them. It does not have the compatibility and the alignment of purpose that are being spoken of here. Do not be addicted to recognition, for you could experience this same recognition in your daily meditation, and this recognition would initiate you into knowledge instead of leading you into a divisive and hopeless relationship with another. The real question in relationships is, what can we do together? The more you learn about yourself, about your thinking and your behavior, and the more objective you become about yourself, the more objective you can become about the other person, and the clearer your discernment will be. This clarity of discernment is very important because people are not what they seem. In almost all cases, people misrepresent themselves unless they are well developed and quite mature. Knowledge is your guide here, so you do not need to tax your mind in deliberation, but you do need to look, to listen, and to learn. The intoxication of being in love may be the spark for the beginning of a meaningful relationship, or it may be a brief and extravagant experience. Proceed slowly and cautiously here. Do not become sexually engaged because of this experience. That should come later if it is appropriate. Remember, once you become sexually engaged, you bond physically and emotionally to a certain extent with the other person. Even if you think that a sexual engagement is casual, it still makes it much more difficult for you to assess your engagement meaningfully. Here you must care enough about the other person, and you must care enough about yourself. You must care enough about your spiritual development and their spiritual development, which will be either helped or hindered by this relationship. The highest quality of love is to serve another's spiritual emergence, even if it means that you cannot be with that person. Even if it means that your relationship does not turn out the way you might have preferred at the outset, this must be an abiding emphasis. And it will be the emphasis if you value your life and their life. If you value your spiritual advancement and their spiritual advancement, and if you value your well-being in a relationship. After a while, you do not want to waste any more years of your life being in relationships that have no promise and that cannot go anywhere. It is necessary to experience a certain amount of disappointment in relationship in order to learn about these things. Yet, too much disappointment can discourage you and disable you. Human beings are only capable of overcoming a certain amount of discouragement. If you take too many wrong turns and make too many wrong decisions, your ability to overcome your obstacles and to choose a new course will diminish over time. People might want to think that they are fully capable of changing their lives at any juncture, but this is not true. That is why what you do now is so very important. Do not assume that if you do not follow the truth now, that you can follow it later. Do not make this assumption. This is a very costly assumption. That is why you must deal with relationships in a very sober way, in a very practical way, and in a very honest way. The glory of momentary recognition can in no way compare to the value of a meaningful relationship. What makes a relationship meaningful is participation together through time. This is where you learn together, grow together, refine yourselves together, and extend yourselves out into the world together. You cannot do this if the elements of compatibility are not there. If the elements of compatibility are not there, then your individual designs are not compatible, and your involvement in life will be limited, regardless of the intensity of your affection. This is why at the outset it is necessary to learn discernment. Why spend 5 years finding out that you really cannot be married to this person when you could have found out in 5 days, or, as your discernment becomes more refined, in 5 minutes? Many people say after 5 years, if they have discovered that their relationship cannot proceed and cannot grow, I knew this at the beginning, but I would not listen to what I knew. They could see these elements in the other person, and they could see their incompatibilities, but they did not want to look because they wanted to be with that person. They wanted the experience of being together. They wanted to escape loneliness and isolation. Yet it is far better to be alone than to be improperly engaged with another. Improper engagement, if it is maintained, will destroy your motivation and your life force. This is very true. What about sex? Sexuality is a difficult subject for many people to deal with objectively, because they have so much of their sense of identity, their self-expression, and their sense of self-worth associated with it. Sexuality is important, but it is not the source of your worth, your identity, or your self-expression. Nor is sexuality in any way the most important avenue for the expression of these things. Sexuality is something which must be properly comprehended and managed wisely. Your household must be managed. Otherwise, everything turns to chaos. Your sexuality must be managed, or it too turns to chaos. If your sexuality is not properly managed, it can dominate your mind and obliterate your ability to comprehend your spiritual life. This will keep you in darkness. Sexuality, like money and power, has been associated with many terrible things. Some people have assigned it as a cause for human downfall. Yet sexuality is simply an aspect of life that must be properly managed. Money is an aspect of life that must be properly managed. Power is an aspect of life that must be properly managed. If sexuality is neglected or mismanaged, it will create problems. It is the same with money. They are both powerful, they are both influential, and they are both aspects of life. You must manage them according to what you are designed to do. The ascetic sitting in the monastery must manage his or her sexuality so that they can participate in the monastery. Their management of sexuality is different from that of a householder or a worldly person. But the worldly person must also manage their sexuality if they wish for it to serve a greater purpose. In no way can sexuality be your greater purpose. If you believe that it is, you are severely neglecting your mind and your true purpose for being in the world. When that happens, sexuality takes the place of knowledge and becomes an addiction. How important is sexuality in establishing a primary relationship? Sexuality is only moderately important because it is something that changes. Whether or not you feel good with another person sexually is something you may be able to change through behavior. It is something you can change by opening your heart. But sexuality can also reveal an incompatibility of spirit and an incompatibility of values. In this, it can teach you a great deal. But you can learn about these incompatibilities without becoming sexually engaged. As it has been indicated, it is wise not to become sexually engaged with another until you have learned more about yourself and the other person. It is rushing ahead in sexuality that leads you astray. If you are to be together in marriage, you will experience sexuality together. However, first you must find out if you can be together. Do not have sexual engagement for a while. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by waiting. Do not have sexual engagement right away. Learn about each other. Learn about each other's values and behavior. Learn about each other's blind spots and predispositions. For it is these that you will be living with day to day. To become engaged in relationship because their sexuality is exciting is like buying a house because you like the garden. You are not going to live in the garden. You are going to live in the house. The garden is not that important. In relationship, sexuality is like the garden, something you enjoy that is meaningful and that can show you a greater compatibility. Yet sexuality is not the essence of your being together. Over time, you will lose interest in each other's sexuality to a certain degree. At least it will change sufficiently and will perhaps not have the thrill or excitement that it had at the outset. After being together 20 years, you will have sexual engagement because you want to share something of a deeper nature. Sexuality now is not simply for excitement and stimulation. It is a vehicle to share something greater. In truth, the purpose of sexuality is twofold. It is to experience union with another and to regenerate the race. It is a vehicle to express something spiritual on the mental and physical levels. And it is the means for producing children. There is no other reason to have sex. Sex for any other reason is potentially very dangerous for your well-being. Of course, people have many other reasons for engaging sexually with one another. They want to lose themselves in momentary stimulation. They want to demonstrate dominance over others. They want to prove to themselves that they are attractive, or they want to use sexuality to gain acquisition to positions of power. Here sex is being used as a form of manipulation. Anyone who uses sexuality for any of these purposes will be the great loser because they do not understand the power of sexuality and they will not experience its real benefits. Sexuality is only appropriate in certain primary relationships, but not all primary relationships. Monogamy here is quite essential. Because of your design, you can only mate successfully with one other in present time. Attempt to mate with more than one, and there will be great problems. People will be distressed, intimacy will be destroyed, and alignment of activity with others will be distorted and even destroyed. You have only to look about you to see the absolute truth of this. What is important about sexuality is what it can reveal: greater compatibility, emotional vulnerability, and the experience of intimacy and affinity. These can be experiences of real recognition. Recognition is the starting point to any meaningful relationship, and it is something you can experience more deeply as you go along. But recognition itself is not relationship. Clearly, you can experience wonderful moments of recognition with someone with whom you can do very little. Attempting a relationship here would be a disaster. This relationship would not be able to fulfill itself. The reasons for this lack of fulfillment in most cases can be seen at the outset. And that is why discernment is so important here. Sexuality is very important. It is something sacred to preserve. It is where life force is exchanged in the physical world. It is an expression of vulnerability and intimacy. Do not take it lightly. Do not engage in it casually. Do not use it for personal gratification. When you engage in sexuality with another, you are engaging your physical life force. If this life force is not shared within a meaningful relationship, it will be wasted. If it is wasted, you will lose energy and vitality. Physically, you will experience a loss of power, vitality, and health. Mentally, you will experience discouragement, depression, a loss of vision, and your sense of direction, and a loss of your sense of purpose and meaning. If you continue to engage sexually in a relationship where true purpose and meaning cannot be generated and supported, you will literally be killing yourself slowly, mentally and emotionally. You will dissipate your life force. Your emotions will become confused, and you will lose the awareness of knowledge within yourself. Here you will notice that people who use sexuality for pleasure only or as an addiction have very little clarity of mind and tend to suffer and lose their sense of priority and perspective concerning their relationships. Sexuality here begins to dominate them and affect everything that they think, everything that they express, and everything that they do. Sexuality is a major form of addiction in the world, particularly in societies where access to sex comes with very few limits or restraints. Because sexuality has been a source of so many problems, people with a spiritual emphasis often attempt to escape it altogether. This, however, is rarely successful unless you are designed to be an ascetic or celibate, which is not true for most people. You must face your sexuality and learn to manage it wisely. You cannot run away from it. And you cannot pretend that it does not matter. It is a fact of life. It is either a source of growth and meaning or a source of self-destruction. Either way, sex must be regarded as a very serious engagement. You may share thoughts with another, and this will have an impact on your well-being, but to share life force is to share your essence beyond thought. This is very important to understand. Proper engagement here will strengthen the experience of intimacy, regenerate your relationship through recognition, and bond you closer together. Yet if your sexuality is misappropriated, it will have the opposite effect, and you will pay very greatly for it. Here it is better to be alone and to preserve your life force than to throw your life force away and lose your sense of purpose, meaning, and direction. How many people who were otherwise successful have failed because of their sexual misappropriation? The same is true with money. How many people have failed because of their misappropriation of money? In both cases, money and sexuality failed to be what they were meant to be. They are each areas of responsibility. They are each arenas in which power is expressed. Money can either be a wonderful thing or a terrible thing. The same holds true for sexuality. Sexuality is a fact of life, but it has to be managed according to your purpose. Certain basic truths about sexuality still exist. Sexuality should be preserved for a primary relationship. Here, it is to be used only as a means of establishing deeper intimacy and union, and/or for the purpose of producing a child. If it is not your purpose and design to have children, then you must only use sex for union to nurture your primary relationship. Problems with sexuality are often not sexual in origin. They are emotional and psychological and are worth exploring and healing. There are only a few sexual problems that are actually physical in nature. Most problems either indicate that an individual is wounded in some way or that they have a basic incompatibility within their relationship. Both require serious consideration. You can know if you are physically compatible with another by holding their hand, by hugging them, or by kissing them. You can see if you are emotionally compatible with another by learning about their habits and background, and by seeing what they do and how they think. Without this compatibility, sexuality has no real meaning. It is what happens mind to mind, heart to heart, body to body that is important. Two bodies rubbing against each other does not mean a great deal. It is what transpires within people and between people that is the essence of the matter. Initiating a primary relationship, therefore, requires great caution regarding sexuality. Learn more about your relationship. Investigate each other. Share your life with the other person before you become sexually engaged. Then your sexual engagement will enhance your growing relationship and will not dominate it. How do you prepare for marriage? Marriage is necessary for every person, whether it be marriage with another in intimate relationship or union with a group of people who have gathered together to serve a greater purpose. Marriage is where you transcend your personal fears and preferences in order to have a greater experience of yourself. This can only be accomplished through relationship. This must be entirely natural. It cannot be forced. You cannot make a relationship into your ideal marriage. Yet if you are properly engaged and honestly supporting your spiritual advancement and your partner's spiritual advancement and are learning how this can be done effectively, then you are aiming yourselves towards marriage. Preparation for marriage begins with learning to discern your spiritual, mental, and physical life. You experience your spiritual life intuitively. You experience your mental life by sharing ideas and values with others, by learning about others and from others, and by observing yourself objectively. It is also experienced by using creative thinking to accomplish specific goals with others. You experience your physical life through sensory awareness and through your experience of being in the world. The more you learn about yourself in these three arenas, the better prepared you will be. This will establish your criteria for meaningful relationships. It will serve you a great deal here to observe relationships in real life and not just in the movies. In real life, people are teaching you everything to do and not to do. If you have an open mind, are listening carefully, and not simply following your own ambitions or condemning others, then you can learn a great deal from what others are doing, thus saving yourself years of painful experience. Do not think that you are different than they are. Do not think that because you know so much or have so much spiritual awareness or are so physically endowed or so mentally astute that your experience will be that different from what other people are experiencing. The seduction of addiction, the propensity for error, and the grave consequence of misappropriation all face you as they do everyone else. That is why you must have a sober approach to participating in life. This is not a negative approach, but an objective approach. Objectivity is the essence of knowledge. Knowledge does not say, I will call everything wonderful because I want everything to be wonderful. Knowledge does not do that. People do that when they are afraid to face life and when they are afraid of their own errors. Knowledge does not say, everything is terrible. I must not be fooled by anything. I must not call anything good for fear that it will disappoint me. Knowledge does not do that either. Knowledge looks, listens, and acts. How simple this is and how completely effective. Knowledge is not distressed with doubt and confusion, comparison and evaluation or judgment and condemnation. Knowledge is not beset with the need for justification, the need for compromise, the need to prove itself to be better than others, the need to control, the need to manipulate, or the need to gain a better advantage. Knowledge is not concerned with survival. This is what makes it the most potent force in the world. Because knowledge is essentially good and inherently filled with grace, and because it is only concerned with spiritual advancement and worldly accomplishment in the truest sense, it is without conflict of interest and without flaw. What else can you imagine that possesses these qualities? Perhaps at first you will say that such a thing does not exist. I don't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm so afraid of disappointment that I can't follow knowledge. Given that your substitutes for knowledge have failed you, it is understandable that you would think that knowledge would fail you as well. It is only through experience that you will learn otherwise. To have this experience, you must have faith in your learning and trust your inclination to learn. You must exercise this faith within yourself and within your relationships. Marriage is a result of growth and development. It is not something that happens the minute you say, I do, in a church. Marriage is a result of a demonstrated compatibility and the joining of minds and wills to give the gifts of contribution to the world. Those gifts may be directed towards your children, your community, or the entire world. Any true marriage will extend beyond itself and serve those around it. Thus, it becomes an oasis in a thirsty land. There are so few marriages that possess this. Yet they are a hopeful sign in a seemingly hopeless world. How many marriages can you think of that are truly inspiring to you? Not perfect, not without difficulty, but inspiring for what they can accomplish and how much they can provide. True marriage is not merely an association of convenience. It has a far greater quality that abides with it, for the presence of your spiritual family exists there and knowledge expresses itself there. It is a source of continual spiritual, mental, and worldly expression. Within the core of this marriage, shared physical activities support the union of minds, and the union of minds supports the expression of spirit. True marriage is what you are preparing for, whether you know it or not. Whether you say you want to be married or not, you are preparing for true marriage. If you see that all of your personal growth and development are for this purpose, then you will understand their real meaning. However, if you see your growth and development only as a means for you to become a more powerful, more expressive, more self-controlled, and less vulnerable person, you will not understand your personal growth at all, and your actions and your thoughts will be misappropriated. It is true that you must become strong to participate in a meaningful relationship. But it is the meaningful relationship that you will truly make you strong. What you must recognize in your preparation for marriage are the necessary criteria and the restraint of those factors within yourself that will deny those criteria and make you forge ahead for immediate gratification. Here you must learn patience, discernment, and objectivity, and be able to follow the deeper inclinations within you, which are the outward expression of your knowledge. You are preparing for true marriage now. That is how your inner teachers view you. That is how your spiritual family views you. When you begin to view your life in this way, your mind will begin to have a clearer awareness. Your genuine priorities will begin to become established, and your thoughts and actions will become uniform. Here you will learn to become honest, for real honesty means that your actions and your thoughts are uniform, and that nothing within you is betraying the essential source of communication which is coming from your spirit. With real honesty there is harmony and alignment, and there is no deception within you. This is the full expression of honesty. You are preparing for this marriage as well, for this is the marriage of your body, your mind, and your spirit. This is marriage within yourself. This is also marriage between you and another. In life, true marriage is only to a certain person, to a group of people involved in an important endeavor, and sometimes both. If your marriage to one person functions within a genuine community, then your primary relationship will extend beyond your union with another. In fact, this will always be the case because eventually you will have either a family or a community to serve, and often both. Here genuine marriage is the extension of union to include others where it has been first established between two people. Where two or more are joined, this is Christhood in the world. Knowledge will emanate from them if they are truly joined. When you think of Jesus, think of an individual married to his spiritual family. Christ is a relationship. Christ is not an individual. People make the Christ an individual because they can identify with an individual more easily than they can with a greater relationship. They relate to separation more than to union. It would be accurate to say that Christ does not mean the anointed one. It means the united relationship. Real meaning cannot come from one individual, but only from a relationship. Jesus' relationship with his spiritual family was demonstrated completely, though few people have been able to recognize or understand this demonstration. He was like the tip of the pen that writes on the paper, the very tip where the ink comes forth and makes contact with the world. Thus his signature is placed upon the world, but he is only the tip of the fountain pen that holds the spiritual substance. The spiritual substance itself is greater than the point of contact. Jesus is the medium of expression for a greater relationship. The meaning and the destiny of true marriage is to become a medium of expression for your spiritual family. Marriage seen in this way will become a source of personal fulfillment, personal advancement, and worldly contribution. You are preparing for this, knowingly or unknowingly, even now. You are either moving towards this or you are holding yourself back. You are either accepting this or denying it. You are either perceiving this or misperceiving it. You prepare for your spiritual family through genuine marriage in the world. If you cannot marry anyone in the world, you will not be able to join your spiritual family beyond the world. Here you will have to come back into the world until you can marry someone in mind, in body, and in spirit. You cannot marry an idea, an ideal, a concept, a vision, or a philosophy. You cannot marry anything abstract. You cannot marry anything self-created. You may cherish any of these things. You may identify with them, but you cannot marry them. You can only marry another. You marry another to create a family, to serve a community, or both. You can unite with a group of people to serve a cause in the world. This is always for contribution, because contribution is the essence of fulfillment.